A disability is something that has a major impact on your life.
Every disability is different.
And it's never the same thing for two people. I am blind in my right eye totally and partially sighted in my left eye.
I was 18 years old. We were traveling way too fast on a gravel road. Broke my neck, my back.
My Asperger's syndrome and my cerebral palsy.
I have anxiety and depression. People would have no idea just talking to me.
Being independent means different things to different people.
I want to live in my own house. I want to pay my own bills.
Live independently and not rely on other people.
When someone is not able to live as independently as they can, it does have a detrimental effect on people's physical and mental well-being.
It's no complicated thing. It's just that people with disabilities want to be included.
Plenty of people get stuck in ruts when they feel like they can't overcome something in their life. That's where Lyft comes in.
Living independently for today and tomorrow. Lyft. We help people of all ages and all types of disabilities find the resources or acquire the skills to live as independently as possible.
We serve the southeastern 18 counties here at the Billings office. We have a variety of things that we offer. We can help with grant funding for adaptive equipment.
Maybe a home modification so they're able to access their home. We help people to find that funding.
Helping people apply for Social Security benefits.
Medicaid, Medicare, housing.
They have a peer support group. Peer support, I think, is key.
Sharing life experiences is one of the most powerful things to help people who might be new to disability, who might be struggling with their disability.
Youth transitions is kids that are transitioning out of high school. They need to learn those adulting skills. It might be rent an apartment, learn how to grocery shop, budgeting.
Help someone advocate for themselves in a school or an employment setting. One of our biggest strengths is providing folks with information and referral. If we can't help you, we hope to know who can.
A lot of times we'll have a potential consumer call in and they think that they just have one need, and it turns out that we end up finding 3 or 4 things we can actually do for them.
You can just come in and say, hey, I feel like I have this going on. Can you help me? And we can, which is so cool to me. I love that.
Most of us on staff at Lyft have identified ourselves as having one or more disabilities. That is helpful in many cases.
It's easier to empathize with someone when you yourself have struggled with a disability.
This is what we specialize in. This is who we are, and this is what we do.
And it costs nothing to go to Lyft. It's a nonprofit organization and they're there to help.
Somebody that was a consumer that was working with Lyft was asked to do an art project. He visualized that the balloon helps to lift people up. And then it became the logo, and it's stuck.
There's been success on all kinds of levels.
It's really rewarding to have a consumer go, hey, I was able to do this by myself today.
We want people to live their best life as independent as possible.
Live as everyone else in society and live as a part of society, not apart from society.
Everybody needs help. Sometimes you just need a little more help, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
There's plenty of life to live still, and there's a way you can do it. Keep chipping away at it, little by little by little.
Knowledge is power. Let's share it, for crying out loud.
Send us an email, give us a call. We'll do our best to help.
We can definitely help figure out what your needs are and get started on that. We're one of many steps in the path to independence, and we're happy to be serving people here in the community.
Good day and welcome to Living Well in Montana. Living Well in Montana is a program of living independently for today and tomorrow, or LIFT, L-I-F-T-T, as we like to call ourselves. LIFT is what is known as a Center for Independent Living, meaning that we are a center for advocacy and resources that promote the independence of people with disabilities across our 18-county service area in southeastern and south central Montana. For more information about LIFT, please visit our website at lift.org or give us a call at one of our offices. Our Billings office is 406-259-5181, and our office in Glendive is 406-948-8500. And there's lots of good things going on at LIFT these days, so we'll hope you'll check us out. On today's program, we're filming this on July the 1st. Today, July marks what is often called Disability Pride Month or ADA Awareness Month, or a couple other things that aren't coming to mind at the moment. But basically the 26th, it all culminates on the 26th of July with the celebration of the anniversary of the signing into law of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. So this year is the 35th anniversary of that occasion, and we thought we would start the month by welcoming David Carlson of Disability Rights Montana back to our show to talk a little bit about what's going on at DRM and about the state of disability rights in Montana and the United States today. David, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jed. Well, it's great to be back.
Okay. So let's start with what's been going on at DRM.
Well, since we last spoke, we've gotten a little bit more clarity, but not 100% clarity on the budget discussions over that Congress is looking at right now. So we've made some staffing adjustments. We've had to do a layoff and reduce forces, and we're watching to see as the budget develops whether we will have to do another round later this month. Unfortunately, during Disability Pride Month, Congress will be going through proposals from the White House, and some of those proposals cut entire programs of ours or cut them by significant amounts. So we're on the lookout, because right now our budget is proposed to be cut in half from what it has been, and it's been level funded for quite a while. So we're working through that, but we are also moving forward and still engaging in lots of advocacy. We've filed a new class action lawsuit about education rights. We have monitored settings for people with developmental disabilities all over the state, hundreds, and are engaged in advocacy around that. Also monitored school settings for students with disabilities to ensure schools are preparing kids with disabilities for life after school. So life goes on in the advocacy world, but from my desk, doing a lot of number crunching, I've been sweating bullets for a while.
Okay, and again, there's, as we say this, the one bill has now apparently cleared the Senate, and I believe it goes back to the House, or who knows what they'll do with it, but it is concerning for all of us in the disability world, whether it's protection and advocacy funding or Medicaid funding, or, you know, there are all of these pieces of the puzzle that come together to make up the work we do at LIFT or at Disability Rights or at any disability service provider or advocacy organization. And again, yeah, so it's
Yeah, those Medicaid cuts are quite significant. I don't know that there's a word significant enough. Significant seems insignificant. Over $1 trillion in the Senate's version of cuts. So $1 trillion just to Medicaid. So
right.
if you look at living independently for today and tomorrow, today, the way many people with disabilities live independently is because they have Medicaid services that fund different things for them. Some people may need help getting out of bed in the morning. Some people may need help getting around town. Some may need help at home preparing food. Medicaid pays for a variety of home and community-based services that help people live independently. So today, that's what's going on. If you cut $1 trillion out of Medicaid, I don't think mathematically there is a way to cut that money and not hurt the people who really need it. A lot of people who support cuts to the budget say, well, we're just trying to cut waste, or we're trying to get people who don't really need Medicaid off of Medicaid, or we suspect that there are people who are immigrants to the country who haven't paid into the system, they're taking out of the system. While I may disagree with you on all of those points, even if someone were to agree with you on all of those points, the sheer volume of $1 trillion coming out of that system can't possibly be made up by, even if I conceded all of those other points that there's waste to be gotten rid of and whatnot. So it is quite concerning to the disability community. It is health insurance, but it is so much more. There is no other health insurance. There's no private health insurance you can get. Medicare doesn't pay for it. The level of community-based in-home care that Medicaid pays for, it's what allows people to live in the community and not in large institutions, or not just dying for a lack of services.
It's a very good point. And again, the maneuvering in Congress and in the White House is not all done yet, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Right. It goes back to the House at this point, because the Senate wanted to cut more out of Medicaid than the House did. So now it has to go back to the House to see if they can come up with an agreement. The House may just vote and say yes on the Senate bill, or they may say, no, that can't pass, but we can come up with some other way, in which case both chambers would have to vote again. So there's still time on the clock to do advocacy, folks. You can still contact your representatives and tell them what you think should happen. Do you think Medicaid should be cut? Tell them that. If you think, no, I need Medicaid and I don't want it cut at all, you tell them that. So you can, I pulled up the switchboard number, but you can call. Everyone watching should be in Troy Downing's district. Representative Downing has a Billings office, and the phone number is 406-413-6720. And you can call them and let them know what you think should be done at the next stage of voting around the big, beautiful bill.
Thank you, David. I'd like to go back to an issue. Again, you guys did a great piece of, I guess you'd call it protest art, around a lawsuit that was working its way through the federal courts in the District of North Texas about the Section 504. Could you talk a little bit about that art project and about that lawsuit?
Yeah. I wish I just walked by the room with all the thousands of pencils in it. I should have brought some. Section 504 is the first federal law that provided civil rights to people with disabilities. And what it says is the federal government and entities that get money from the federal government cannot discriminate against people with disabilities. And as you were mentioning, Jed, that this is the 35th anniversary of the ADA being signed in 1990. The Rehabilitation Act and the Section 504 came about almost 20 years before that, 15, 16 years before that, in the early 70s. And the ADA was modeled on that original law. And the ADA said, well, not just federal government and federal contractors, but also state governments can't discriminate against people with disabilities. Businesses that are open to the public can't discriminate against people with disabilities. Medium to large size employers can't discriminate against people with disabilities. So from that original law, it started expanding to cover almost everything you could think of. The Fair Housing Act was also amended in the 80s to cover people with disabilities. So it was really the beginning of a major milestone. And it took a lot of work just to get the law passed, but then also to get the law implemented and having regulations passed. And the disability community kept showing up and advocating. They advocated to get the original law passed, the regulations passed, the Fair Housing Act amended, the Nursing Home Reform Act changed, and the Americans with Disabilities Act changed. There's a lot of work going into that. So then a while back, our state attorney general signed Montana onto a lawsuit that sought to have a federal court find that original civil rights law, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, unconstitutional and unenforceable. So that was really troubling. Now, he defended and saying, I didn't really mean that, even though he is a lawyer, and that's what the lawsuit says. Find Section 504 unconstitutional and unenforceable. That would mean schools could discriminate against people with disabilities, because again, schools get federal money. It means that the federal government could discriminate against people with disabilities. Anyone who receives federal money, that's Disability Rights Montana, that's LIFT, we receive federal money. We don't discriminate against people with disabilities because we don't want to, but we also are legally not allowed to. So what the Attorney General did was say, no, this is really about some regulations, and the Attorney General says he really doesn't like transgendered people and that somehow this has a connection to that. And again, as a lawyer, he should know better that all of that really wasn't going to pass muster. We know how to read laws. Whether you're a lawyer or not, you can just sit down and read, and that's not what this law was doing. So we worked with lots of other folks, other independent living centers, with LIFT as well, to put out a press release and hold a press conference and an event, and went to the Attorney General's office to send a letter that over 40 organizations across Montana signed on to oppose the Attorney General's involvement, then contacted him about weekly to try to schedule a meeting, but could never get a meeting scheduled. Then launched this art project that you're talking about, Jed, where we found out that there are 5,401 students who have Section 504 plans, and that's a plan specifically designed because of the law, the Section 504 law, that says schools can't discriminate against kids with disabilities in school. And there are over 5,000 kids in Montana who have a plan for how the school will provide them accommodations so they can get good access to good education. And we got 5,401 pencils and a little school desk with a pencil sharpener, you know, those kind you use in school where it's attached to the wall and you grind it. We attached that to the desk, and people would take turns sitting there at the school desk and grinding pencils down to a nub, just like school will grind kids down to a nub and not give them a good education if they don't have the accommodations they need. And we launched that. We had plans to grind all 5,000 or stop when the Attorney General backed down. We got about 200 pencils in, and the Attorney General has backed down. I don't think it's just about the protest. I think it's about the entire movement of Montanans with disabilities pushing back. I've talked to people in other states who had their attorneys general sign on to these lawsuits, and they were very impressed with how the disability community in Montana mobilized. They all took note of the big press conference that was held, the press releases, the social media push that was out there by LIFT, that was out there by the other independent living centers in other parts of the state. And this protest all kept applying pressure. And ultimately, all of the attorneys who were representing the 17 states that were trying to find Section 504 unconstitutional and unenforceable removed that request from the lawsuit, removed the sections that reference it being unconstitutional. So now it is much more limited to, is it appropriate to have this regulation or that regulation? Some new regulations that came out near the end of the last presidential administration. So that's a victory. That's a victory for people with disabilities across Montana, that our voices were heard. Our voices joined with those across the country in those other 17 states that were very hostile to disability rights, and they had to back down because they couldn't just lie and say, this isn't about kids in school, this isn't about discrimination at work, this is really just about transgender people, and say that's not true. You sought to find Section 504 unconstitutional and unenforceable. That is going to hurt people with disabilities all over the state. And so I really want to thank Lyft for your participation. I want to and thank everybody who is within your, in the viewing audience and within the area that you serve. People with disabilities speaking up and explaining what's important to them does matter. You are the ones who know best what the civil rights of people with disabilities means and what it would mean to take them away. So much like on the Medicaid front, what does it mean to take away $1 trillion out of Medicaid? You're the ones who would know best. So explain that to your lawmakers, just as we did here with this lawsuit. It can make a difference. It may not seem like it at first, but we just keep chipping away. We're gonna keep working on that advocacy. If things always went our way, we wouldn't need advocates, right? We just explain, hey, this is a good idea, and everyone say, that is a great idea, let's do that. Unfortunately, things don't just happen because they're a good idea. Things happen because, one, they are a good idea, and then you put the energy in to making people notice and listen.
Which is sort of the story of how the ADA came about 35 years ago. It was a group of very dedicated folks said, this is a good idea, and they put in a lot of work, both.
Absolutely. There is a great book you can probably find in the library still. They probably haven't gotten rid of it. It's a little dated these days because it was written, I don't know, 20, 25, no, it's got to be more than 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago now, by Joseph Shapiro, who works for National Public Radio,
right.
And called No Pity. And that's a great, as someone with dyslexia who does not like to read, it's a good read. It's written by a journalist who knows how to write, so people can just get through lots of dense material pretty quickly and pretty engagingly. And you can get a very good snapshot of what it took to bring lots of people with disabilities, different types of disabilities together, and say, we're going to be strongest if we all work together in the same direction. And I think that's what disability pride is all about, is embrace the strength of your lived experience. You, be you, like that, be proud of who you are. Yeah, disabilities can suck sometimes. And sometimes that's because of things that can change easily, and sometimes they can't change easily. It's going to take a lot to get steps out from all these different buildings that are everywhere. And that's why after the ADA, things being built going forward have to be designed more accessibly, so that as older settings age out, new settings come in, but that takes a long time, and not everybody even follows the requirements that are there. So you need to continually stay vigilant and continue to push, and that can wear you down and be demoralizing. It can be, just really, sometimes people with disabilities talk about spoons, and it uses up a lot of your resources, your spoons you have available, and I just don't have anything left to fight some more. Well, disability pride's a bit of a time to charge up and say, you know what? Yeah, it is hard, but it's also good. Like, my brain takes a long time to slog through written materials, but it also pieces information together very differently than other people other people's brains does. And when you're problem solving, having a different perspective is often very valuable. So I add a lot of value in lots of different spaces that other people simply can't because they aren't me. And so this is a time to remind ourselves that we know things, we can do things other people cannot do. And we should not only resist the external stigma, but recognize sometimes that gets internalized and we get down on ourselves or we get worn out. And we should connect with our community, our larger disability community, and celebrate. So that's why I'm really excited, why I'm calling in from Helena today, because I'm planning on being out in person at LIFT's celebration later this month on the 26th, having a big old party to celebrate the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act and Disability Pride Month. I think it's really important that we all connect on a human level and be proud of what we bring uniquely to our communities.
Thank you, David. And with a couple minutes left, I will mention again, LIFT will be holding a celebration of the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act on Saturday, July the 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at our Billings sort of office headquarters on 1241 Crawford Drive here in Billings. There'll be in addition to disability rights, there'll be a number of service providers and disability community organizations that will have tables and that you can visit with and learn more about, as well as LIFT and all of its programming. We will be having a graduation for our latest class of Living Well in Community students who have spent 11 weeks in this goal setting and sort of life skills class that we host from time to time. There will be guest speakers from both LIFT and other organizations talking about what the ADA means to them and what how we move forward. We'll also have hot dogs and water and a water slide of some kind and some fun that way. Heard whether there'll be live music, but there's a possibility of that. So again, we invite everybody to come to LIFT on July 26th and join us and check out our website for more information. David Carlson, thank you for joining us. And again, we'll see you in person on July 26th, and we'll see you again on TV probably in September or October. All right, thanks. Thanks, David. And thanks everybody for watching. Good day.